tides of the North Atlantic's Georges Bank lies the mystery of the missing German U-boat, U-215. Join the sea hunters as they journey offshore to locate this World War II prowling wolf of the ocean. With over 100 million books in print, Clive Cussler is the Grand Master of shipwreck tales and adventure. Director of the Vancouver Maritime Museum, James Delgado is one of the world's foremost marine archaeologists. Introduced to diving at an early age, Warren Fletcher is a professional diver and underwater cameraman capturing images around the globe. Leading the Econova dive team, Mike Fletcher has coordinated shipwreck searches all over the world. Together, they explore the planet's last frontier in search of true adventures with famous shipwrecks. They are the Sea Hunters. The German word for it was Paukenschlag, drumbeat, the murderous rhythm of the prowling wolf. Hitler's U-boats sent to the shores of North America to prey on Allied cargo ships, denying Churchill's war machine. Germany was determined to starve Britain out of the war.
Hello, I'm Clive Cussler. The U-boat Wolfpacks brought the Second World War to America's doorstep. For a few months in 1942, the waters off North America became a killing field. Allied cargo ships, the victims of a slaughter. It was a flurry of destruction mockingly called the Great American Turkey Shoot. To keep pace with the carnage and meet the demand for food, supplies, and vessels needed by our British allies, America had to have more cargo ships, and fast.
The answer was found in the Liberty ship, basic prefabricated vessels that were cranked out by the hundreds. On the morning of July 3rd, 1942, the Liberty ship Alexander McComb, on her maiden voyage, her decks loaded with German tanks and P-38 aircraft, suddenly exploded. She'd been hit by a torpedo. Close by was the British escort vessel the Tiger, who detected a submarine and attacked with a barrage of depth charges. Because the water was covered with oil and the shattered debris of the now sinking Alexander McComb, it was impossible to know if the submarine had been killed. The Tiger was forced to quickly gather survivors and return to her important position as a protector of the 41-ship convoy. It wasn't until after the war that secret German documents revealed that indeed a U-boat had gone missing on or about that day. A unique 7D-class mine-laying sub, lost in that same area of the New England coast off Boston, Massachusetts. Was this missing U-boat, now identified as U-215, the same submarine that had sunk the Liberty ship Alexander McComb?
Until U-215 is found, she's in effect a wandering ghost lurking in the open ocean, still out there, still on patrol. Now come along with the Sea Hunters on a challenging search and their toughest dive assignment yet, to locate the resting place of this lost wolf of the ocean, U-boat 215.
Hey Warren, are you going to start bringing the doubles out?
Clive sends the father and son team of Mike and Warren Fletcher to the historic American fishing port of Gloucester, Massachusetts, where they load dive gear onto the survey vessel Arbor. Joining the search, for U-215 is safety diver Paul Granford and side-scan expert Vince Capone.
Those are the grandpa tanks.
The grandpa tanks.
The Arver is owned and aptly skippered by a mountain of a man named Mark Sheldon.
Have you ever sailed out of Gloucester, Vince?
No, first trip out of Gloucester.
Yeah.
With the gear loaded and equipment tested,
Okay.
there's time for a few hours of sleep before dawn and an early departure.
Hey guys, check out the down clock.
Clear of Gloucester Harbour's light, the Arver heads toward their search area. 350 kilometers to the southeast, the last reported position for U-215 and its alleged victim, the Liberty ship Alexander McCall. For over a century and a half, vessels have sailed from this harbor, bound for that same patch of the Atlantic Ocean, fishing grounds of George's Bank. The group still had a 24-hour sail ahead of them before they would reach the search area and the deployment of the side-scan towfish.
Only because we had done our homework early on did I really believe that the sea hunters were now ready to go offshore and begin the physical hunt for U-215 and the Alexander McCall. We were armed with the original Navy records that gave the position for the sinking, and 9 additional positions from Canadian fishermen who had reported obstructions on the seabed inside our search area. Hey, Warren? Yeah, check this out. Vince and I have been doing some chart work. Okay. Our positions, which are reported fishermen and BIO cross-reference locations, all fall very close to water depths of 45 fathoms.
250 feet.
Yeah, 270, in that range.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to do more than one dive a day, really.
Oh,
No sense.
Realistically, I see 1 dive a day.
Well, with this shallower water here, like, how deep is it there? It's 6,000 feet.
Yeah, 1,000 fathoms.
The tide comes in, the water is going to be just moving over top of the shoal. You think the tide would be a hell of a current.
6-7 knots. You can't even hold position in 3-4 knots. So
Maybe
that,
hold on to a line, but there's no way you're going to swim around and film it.
well, very dangerous to try and do decompression if you get those kind of currents.
As day turns to night, the Arver made steady progress, and eventually the next day reached the targeted area where the team prepared to launch the sonar towfish.
Spin around.
Yes, we're going fishing. Well, you should have a bath.
I'm telling you, I don't stink. My hair's greasy as hell.
Okay, Mike, go ahead and put the towfish in.
Okay.
I don't know why I don't stink. I'm not showered in 3 days.
I'll let you know if you need to speed it up.
Okay, going in. Watch your feet in that cable. Watch it for burrs. It's in the water. Let her go, Warren. Hey, Vince, there goes the 4th tape mark.
Roger that.
Okay. Yeah.
All set.
Thank you.
The 9 target locations would have to be thoroughly scanned, which meant in some cases covering several square kilometers around each location. The entire process would take at least 2 days.
Something show up here, Vince.
What's the right area?
Look at it. It is kind of submarine shaped, you know that?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
It's a long way off the given position.
Welcome to the real world.
Working around the clock, the process soon dragged to the 2nd day. While targets were being found and identified, none proved to be the Liberty ship McCall or their prime target, the submarine U-215.
Did you eat? Hey, did you eat? Sorry. Did you eat?
Eat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been picking. I'm okay.
What do you got here?
Well, we got lots of sand, more sand, and then just off to the right, sand.
So what do you want to do now? We'll just come across the bottom here, move on to the next one?
I think we move up to the next target. I mean, you know, the fishermen say there's a hang here, but I don't see it.
Okay.
He's coming around to the target now, so he's supposed to pass on the outer ring. Should have saw it.
What are you getting, Vince?
We didn't see it.
How could that be?
I don't know. Go ship.
Seems odd, like almost like a shadow right there.
I think there's a real target in this area, but that wasn't it. Hey, Mike. Yeah, I think we need you here for a second.
What do you got?
A little something.
This is the latest image. This is the best image we have so far. You can almost picture that shadow as being the conning tower.
Yeah, it really sure looks like a submarine.
I'll measure the width and the length.
I'll keep Russ on this heading.
240 feet.
It's identical. It's perfect.
Width, we're looking at maybe 14, 15 feet.
Now you tell me what's 240 feet long and only 20 feet wide?
A cigar?
Smokestack?
Come on, you got to admit it, Vince, this is looking a lot like a submarine.
It matches the dimensions. All right, it's not the Macomb.
You won't say it is a submarine, but it's not the Macomb.
No, I have to say that is worth diving. I mean, you don't get anything closer to a submarine target than that.
Okay.
Mike prepares a shot line that they'll drop down into the mech.
Okay, stand by. Everybody clear the lines?
Yeah, I'm just going to let it go slow.
Okay.
Here she goes. We're on the bottom.
On the bottom, roger. We got a target, Mike. She's standing up at least 14 feet off the bottom.
What is the overall water depth?
Water depth is about 260, but she's looking good. I mean, standing right up.
With a line now dropped onto this prime target, they're ready to dive. Safety diver Paul Grantham would be in the Zodiac, which would hang on the line, leaving the Arbor free to act as a chase boat should anything go wrong in the dense fog and unpredictable tidal currents.
It'll be an hour from the time we go down until we come back up. Paul knows our decompression schedule, and he's going to meet us with extra decompression gas.
Just so everybody knows, if it's crazy and we can't deal with the current, we just abort the dive right off the top.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So let's just not forget that this fog is bad and it could get a lot worse.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of helium in there. Just enough.
These things are damn near as big as you are.
Bigger. They weigh a lot more than me.
Fletchers each wear 4 tanks containing 3 different breathing mixtures. Warren's equipment alone weighs 300 pounds, or 136 kilograms. Have the sea hunters found U-215? Only by diving down into 82 meters, or 270 feet, of what will prove to be some of the most challenging water on Earth.
Divers are in the water.
And they know for sure.
Leaping off the Arbor was like diving into a flowing river. The current was brutal. Warren and I had to kick for all we were worth just to get to the downline.
You want to circle around and hang down current of the buoy with the buoy in sight. We'll just stand by at that location.
Great wall, great boat, great fog. That's the beginning of visibility.
Once on the downline, I kept thinking, come on, we had done our calculations. According to the tide tables, there wasn't supposed to be this kind of current. Surely there was a better time than this to dive. But then again, maybe not. Maybe this was as good as it was going to get. So I looked at Warren, he nodded, we decided to just hang on and go for it. But we really were at the limit for being able to work in that current and pull ourselves down that line.
As bad as things were going for Mike and Warren, it was even worse for Vince and Captain Mark. The fog had rolled in so thick, they lost sight of the Zodiac tied to the downline.
Can you see him? They should be behind us. I don't see the flyer on the radar. Circle around to the left. Got it.
I got to 165 east. I couldn't hang on anymore.
Current?
Huh? Oh, kill it.
Holy torture! I quit.
That was one of the toughest dives ever. The current was just killer, Vince, so I just had to say, let's go.
Well, that's a smart move.
If the current had gotten any worse, there's no way we could have held on to do decompression.
No way. But I still had 100 feet to go.
Oh, man.
I'm holding the camera. And it's everything you can do. Your arms straight like this, and the bubbles are just going horizontal. Nuts.
All right. Well, we'll have to go to Plan B. Look at how much sleep people have got and what we want to do, and
Get lighter.
so let's
Got regrip and get a plan going.
Exactly.
There's a big difference between adventure and being foolhardy. And Warren and I had come way too close to crossing that line. If either one of us had been pulled off that down road and set adrift in that current, especially with night coming on, we could easily have gotten separated from the arbor and lost in the fog. This dive was way too deep and way too complicated in pushing the limits. We had to find a time where there was less current, and we absolutely couldn't dive again if there was this kind of fog. I wasn't about to make these same mistakes again.
You should try and get some sleep too, probably. But yeah, but we got to do a really intensive dive, right? Like, okay, but it's stupid to be half awake and try to do this. Well, I don't. I watch yourself beat yourself to death, staying up all hours of the night. Okay. Another blue flying that's out here. Little salsa dog.
What I've been doing is trying to figure out these tides. I've been working with these vector current indicators here on the chart.
You mean the spiders?
The spiders, yeah. I think I've got a window where we could get a dive in.
So these things are actually telling us something about the way the water moves over the bank?
The way the water moves and how fast it moves. Out on the bank here, it's continuously moving and the direction is continuously changing. But I think if we dive around noon, maybe noon.
Yes, it's pretty close.
I can't help it.
Well, you know what? This is our only chance. So let's get it right.
And I think, later on the weather's going to pick up too, so we got to do it.
Yep. Nope, now's the time. Hey guys, come on, we got to hustle.
5 minutes, we'll be good to go.
Okay, 5 minutes. I'll start working us into position.
Okay. We were having a tough time out there, and at a glance it may have seemed that we weren't up for the challenges of George's Bank. But in fact, long before we had even left Gloucester, we had done a lot of homework to prepare for this mission. Warren and I hadn't come 350 kilometers out into the exposed North Atlantic to hunt for a lost submarine armed with nothing more than the positions taken from old Navy records. The sea hunters have learned from previous hunts that those positions alone will never lead you to a shipwreck. And that's why we had turned to the local Nova Scotian fishermen who work out there on George's Bank. It was their 9 positions that we had based our search on, 9 locations that they had in the past snagged their nets on. Not only did they pass along those positions, they had great first-hand knowledge of the area.
Well, if I was to dive down there, I would be watching my back for sharks, and especially strong tides.
The tide is going like in circles all the time. There's always tides going like this. You got to be careful with the tide, and like Lloyd said, You know, there could be some sharks around there, hammerheads and stuff. All depends what time of the year you go.
So you got any good shark bite scars, Wood?
I keep my hands out of the water.
With those locations in hand, we turn next to Clearwater Fine Foods, a Nova Scotia-based fishing company that had generated a detailed acoustic survey of the Canadian side of Georges Bay. Warren and I were able to access that survey through a geologist named Gordon Fader at the Bedford Institute of Oceanography in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Both Gordon and his colleague, Wally Rainey, were quick to again warn us about the treacherous tides.
We do know that the currents are strong on the bank. Very strong.
You know what that means, Warren?
Oh, of course. Not the best place to dive. If there's anything there at all that's sticking above the bottom, we should see it.
Once inside the acoustic survey, we were able to check the fishermen locations. And in almost every case, those locations proved to be real targets, meaning we had 9 possible shipwrecks. Hopefully, one of them was our submarine, U-215. So you can see, we really were well prepared. We knew the currents would be bad and difficult to predict, but more importantly, we had, thanks to the fishermen, great research that had led us to this target. The only thing to do now was to swim down that rope and see what was on the bottom.
Divers in the water, 12:25:25.
Look at that swell roll through there. They should be coming up. I mean, we're looking at, it's coming up on an hour, so, I mean, Paul's up. They should be through their decompression, and they might be hanging just a little bit more.
Yeah. The only person visible in the water is safety diver Paul Grenfell.
Russell, Harbour. Russ, are you there?
He's looking over here like maybe he wants to swim over here.
I think that anchor pulled.
Cross my fingers.
Yeah.
Roger that. Divers on the surface.
Hey guys,
Mike.
I think we got ourselves a submarine.
All right.
Vince's calculations about the tide had been right on this time, and there was a lot less current. Warren and I were able to pull ourselves down to what turned out to be 82 meters or 270 feet to the bottom. But when we got there, the anchor had been pulled out of the wreck, and the tide was really starting to pick up. But luckily, we saw some codfish, which is a really good sign because codfish love to live in shipwrecks. So we just followed them. One fish led to another, and then suddenly the tide just dropped right off, which meant we were in the protection of some big object on the bottom. And then there it was. We had it, or at least we had something, and I didn't want to waste any time. I had to find a heavy structure and get that line tied in. At a glance, it didn't look anything like a submarine, but I really felt like we might be on the pressure hull, the inside of the submarine, if you ripped off the outer shell. There wasn't any time to waste. We had to get out of there before the tide would come rushing back in on top of us.
Come on, your mother can do it. Boys, there's no question that's a submarine, huh?
Well, you know, we didn't see much of it. We didn't see enough of it.
That was a little bust down there.
I felt narked at about 200, and then I got to 260.
And then 270.
270 was our final depth.
The Fletchers would like nothing more than to jump back in and make a second dive to confirm their discovery.
Okay.
But that would have to wait for a tide change, and many hours would have to pass before their bodies could tolerate a second dive. Otherwise, they ran the risk of decompression sickness or the bends.
Hey, War, you come in here. We're just trying to sort out what we want to do now that the dive's over. My feeling is we should keep looking for them on Paul. So, what are your best targets left, Vince?
Now we know where the submarine is.
Does it all make sense when you compare the Navy records? The Navy account? No? What was the account?
Where we found the U-boat is 13 and a half miles from where the attacking ship said she sunk her.
So, Mark, here's the thing. We got a plan. We want to run to our next target. It's 8 miles away.
Yeah.
And what do you think before the weather picks up?
We're going to get hammered on the way home.
Yeah. Well, you figure we're going to get
I
pounded?
don't think we ought to hang around here tonight.
No.
Yeah, we better get going. Yeah.
We'll secure the last of the gear.
Yep.
Okay,
That's good.
got a plan.
That's the plan.
I hated the thought of leaving, but Captain Mark was right. We had to run for shore before the weather hit, which meant I wasn't going to get a chance, at least for now, to dive down and identify what we had found. Did I believe this wreck was U-215? I couldn't be sure. Did I think it was a submarine? Absolutely. And I can say this because the sea hunters had found and dove on a famous U-boat in the North Sea years before. And just like this sub, the outer shell of that U-boat had been pulled away. And at a glance, the debris pile looked nothing like a submarine. But on further investigation, we were able to prove that that submarine was the famous U-21 from the First World War. If we were going to prove that this new wreck was U-215, we would have to go to shore and contract a bigger vessel. And this time, we would sail out of a Canadian port closer to the wreck site.
Within 2 weeks, Mike and Warren regrouped with Jim Delgado in the Canadian port of Shelburne, Nova Scotia. The team would stage the second half of the U-215 search from the decks of the Ryan Atlantic, a rugged trawler typical of the demanding deep-sea North Atlantic fishery. Their captain, Percy Cox, was perfect for the mission, a smart and likable veteran.
What do you think of it, Percy? What do I think of it all? I think it's a lot of gear. We'll make room. We don't have to leave some people. Take the gear.
Another important member of the crew was the bright yellow ROV, piloted by Canada Customs Agent Reagan Brown and support technician Darren Moss. The ROV, or remotely operated vehicle, would effectively be a robotic diver capable of gathering video and staying underwater much longer than the human divers.
You see Warren down there? Percy, whenever you're ready, we'll throw them off. We're ready to go when you are. Yeah.
I want the point to see the little even. Maybe it'll start a little harder. Come on! I can jump.
Okay, now Warren's on, we can go.
You guys left a bit early.
Also invited to join the team was diver and researcher Richie Coleman. Richie had found and identified U-boats in the past and had been researching U-215 for over a decade. No one could be of greater assistance in this leg of the expedition, which was planned to simply identify the target that the sea hunters had found and manage to tie a marker on.
Well, this is going to be interesting.
Well, ideally it's not a U-boat hunt, it's a U-boat confirmation.
You don't know till you go.
No, that's right. What's the first thing we're going to see?
Tubes. 5 tubes, man.
The tubes I referred to were part of the structure of U-215, a special design of U-boat, one of only 6 ever built. While still capable of firing torpedoes, these rare D-class subs were built specifically to be aquatic mine layers with the ability to carry 15 mines which could be deposited while submerged. These mines were carried in 5 vertical tubes built into the subs just behind the conning tower. Once deployed by the U-boat through these tubes, the mines would anchor to the seabed and float upwards while remaining concealed beneath the surface. If all worked as planned, the mines would lay in wait for the first enemy vessel that would pass close enough to detonate the explosive charge. If our target is a submarine, and it contains these 5 tubes, it must be U-215, which had been sent to the shores of North America. The question remains, did U-215 sink the Liberty ship Alexander McCall.
Let's just set some ground rules. If it is 215, or if it's a U-boat, there's protocol. We have to inform the nation of Germany. It's their property, and those are their dead sailors, right?
These were fathers, their sons, their brothers, their husbands, and a lot of them are just young men that are out fighting for their country. You don't have a boat full of ardent Nazis.
It's not like they could be an objective. Do you think you can tell Adolf, no, we're not going to go? I don't think they had a choice.
No. And this is a service that has incredible losses.
And a majority of the boats that went down, there were no survivors. They were lost, like the 215, with the entire. There's nearly 60 U-boats that, as we say, are still out there on patrol. Those boats and their crew just disappeared, just sailed into oblivion.
And that's the term you use, they're still on patrol?
Still on patrol.
Well, 215 is still on patrol.
Until hopefully we find it, eh?
Oh, I sure hope so. I hope we have already found it, actually. We'll find out soon enough. We'll find out soon.
The Ryan Atlantic, tough old war horse of the North Atlantic, slid easily over the calm water, pointed south towards the Canadian side of George's Bank and the Sea Hunter's target. The 250-kilometer run would continue through the night and well into the next day. As dawn breaks over a calm ocean, the group is closing in on their target and the launch of the ROV, which will hopefully confirm the discovery of U-215.
The same surface marker that Warren and I had left there 2 weeks earlier was still afloat on a near-perfect ocean. It would be a simple matter of pulling our line aboard and connecting it to the winch of the Ryan Atlantic, and then deploying the ROV. Just over top of our existing downline. Now, if you want to start testing your ROV, now's the time. Okay, I think we can start coming down slow, and about every 50 feet we'll put a tie wrap in.
So Mike, I'm going to head on into the shack.
Okay.
And start watching the RV-ops. Thanks.
Okay.
We'll let you know.
All right.
This is so exciting. We all gathered around the screen as the ROV made its way to the bottom. And even on the slack tide, the current was ripping, with particles flying past the camera.
Boy, it is blowing down there.
Despite Reagan's best efforts, the ROV just couldn't turn in the current. Even though the tide charts had predicted what should have been a short window of slack tide, the current was still too strong for the machine to function properly. We had no choice but to pull the ROV.
The group called on Percy's experience and knowledge of the tides on George's Bank to pick the time for the next ROV launch, which he calculated would occur in the wee hours of pre-dawn.
We're going to try it when the tide slacks in the morning.
Well, I think what we'll do is go to bed till about 3:30. Well, let's all go put our heads down.
Yeah, I got an alarm clock.
Well, you said it for yourself. Percy will give me a shake. We'll get this yellow line, this orange line, that'll go from our down line, which is in the wreck, to our clump weight for the ROV. And then that way the ROV can't be anywhere but right close by.
Fight that current. You can do it.
It's gonna blow up.
So you need full down just to stay on the bottom.
Yeah.
Whoa, did you see that?
Yeah.
There's a piece of pipe.
Oh.
Hang on.
There we go.
As before, the ROV struggled to get down just over 82 meters, or 270 feet of ocean and killer current.
We are close to a shipwreck. Okay, we're at 255, and we are definitely, look at this, we're passing through a debris field.
But then suddenly, the current seemed to stop. The ROV was being dragged backwards.
Uh-oh. me get back. Let's see what I can do here. Try to
Something was drastically wrong.
back them up.
Oh no. Oh no. Alright, there goes the buoy.
The Ryan Atlantic was adrift. The downline, connecting them to the wreck, had snapped.
If we didn't act fast, we might lose the ROV. But pure luck, we were drifting away from the wreck, meaning the ROV was far less likely to become snagged up.
Strong currents. Lots of fish. Lots of plankton. This is so frustrating. Right underneath the boat, but we can't see it. It's up on the surface, Mike. Let's lasso this bad boy.
Their only recourse was to pull the ROV. The sea hunters were basically back to square one. Without a line tied to the wreck, the group might just as well go home. The success of the expedition now relied entirely on the divers, forcing Mike and Warren back into the dangerous, unpredictable currents of George's Bank.
But see what happened? That's where she parted, Jim.
Look at that, just cheated.
We got all our gear back, but she just cut through that frame that we were tied into.
Mike offered a plan that would hopefully put a line back onto the wreck without causing damage to the site.
We have a new plan, Jim. We're going to grapple, really light grapple, just by hand, over top of the target, what we think is U215. And with any luck, we'll catch it very lightly, and then we're going to dive from the Zodiac up left.
Mike, we're never going to have this boat hanging on this line.
Absolutely. This will be the mothership, so stand by. If there's, I mean, you can't come 150 miles out into the Atlantic Ocean in the Zodiac. Well, you can launch a Zodiac from this, and that's the idea here now.
That's good. We gotta
Gotta get something. The idea is I'm gonna pitch this chain, and everything's gonna go flying out. Okay. Percy, let me know when you see it on the sounder. Okay. Just back a little. Stand clear.
Yeah, he's coming back.
Do we have a tide? Yeah, we don't, but it's 400 feet, so it's good. Yeah. Okay. Yep, look up, Jim. I got it. I got it.
With the line now on the wreck, Mike, Warren, and Richie would suit up. It was time to return to the tried and proven method of using human divers.
That looks heavy.
Give it a lift.
170 pounds. Except for me.
Look at the differences in things.
I'm an air pig though, I need these guys.
For me, this trip to the George's Bank started about 12 years ago when I first heard about the U215 and the Macomb. Thanks to these two boys, I finally got it.
You're not there yet, son. You got 270 feet to go.
That's the easy part.
Paul says he thinks it's good to go, guys. Percy, what you say? Good to go? I got 1:45, guys.
Ready to go?
Okay, Mike. Diver 2! Okay.
The swim down the line was going well. We had timed the tide perfectly. At this point, I had only known Richie for a few days, and now I could rest easy, seeing that he was a bulldog of the water, a very capable and competent diver. Everything was going great, until we got to the bottom. Not only was there no U-boat, there was no structure of any kind. The anchor had pulled out of the wreck. Using the orange tagline, we made a quick search of the bottom. There was nothing. No debris, no codfish, nothing. George's Bank was proving to be as tough as it gets. No wonder U-215 had never been found. And it wasn't just the depth. Warren and I had worked in water much deeper than this in the past. And it wasn't just the brutal current alone. Years before, I'd been part of a team on a construction site to figure out a way to dive at horrendous currents in the Niagara River, only a short distance from the brink of Niagara Falls. The problem with George's Bank were these tides, these unpredictable tides with killer currents whose direction was constantly changing. That's why the line on the Ryan Atlantic had parted, and that's why the anchors in our targets were constantly being pulled out. Frustrated and disappointed, we turned for the surface.
Mike couldn't know he was ascending into potential disaster. Upon reaching his first decompression stop, the regulator that supplied his high oxygen mix malfunctioned. Without this vital gas supply, Mike ran the real risk of getting the bends. Warren recognized the problem immediately, and for many critical minutes, the son shared with the father. Passing Warren's regulator back and forth, the supply of gas was running dangerously low. But the group had planned for emergencies. Safety diver Paul Grantham was able to get an emergency supply down to the divers, and a potential disaster was averted.
Waiting on the surface, I had no idea what had just occurred underwater.
If you didn't get any footage of a U-boat, you can't come aboard.
Alright, see.
Well, what a dive.
We weren't into anything. Nothing.
There's no wreck?
Did our surface search? Nothing. Must have slipped through, just...
Oh, no.
Wasn't a great dive. Had some equipment problems. How you feeling?
I'm good.
I must have been a little sketchy. I must have felt a little sketchy.
One of my regulators crapped out.
Deco rag totally
Flooded. They got some big...
I need to sit. Oh, so did I.
Water.
So we're going to have to
find it again, don't we?
Well, we lost and ripped off, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying. We have to find a wreck again.
Yeah,
which is not an easy thing.
So we've got a window, we've got a tide window at 1, and we have a tide window at 7. 7 a.m. is the better one. It says to skip. So Mike, I think the plan should be ready to go at 7.
Not prepared to give up, the divers had breathing gas for one more dive. They would couple 2 large anchors together and drop them as close as possible to the site. And as before, they would only tie off the Zodiac. The Ryan Atlantic was far too heavy and would only drag the anchor through the wreck, perhaps causing unnecessary damage. This would be the Sea Hunter's last chance. It would work, or they would go home empty-handed.
If we got good weather, we take advantage of it. We can sleep after the weather.
Yeah.
Alright. This time for sure.
We definitely need a submarine and images of a submarine.
I hope we find her, that's for sure. Got enough disappointment on this one.
Can't think of a more appropriate way to look for dead ships than on a foggy sea.
This was our last chance. I didn't even want to think about the possibility that the anchors had fallen too far from the wreck for us to find something this time. But nothing to prepare me for what we did find. Not only had the anchors fallen on the wreck, but they had fallen on the edge of 5 vertical tubes. We had found our U-boat. It was without question U-215. And not only could I see the open tubes, but there were the tops of the mines. As Jim had stressed, find those tubes, and you found 215. She was the only Type 7 D-Class sub ever lost on this side of the Atlantic. But there was little time for exploration. We had all studied the drawings. We knew that if we moved forward from the tubes, we'd find the conning tower. And there it was, still containing the base of the periscope. The hatches were still sealed. Not only was it likely the entire crew was still inside, but there was a possibility the sub was airtight. We had found the world's only known remains of a Type 7 D-Class submarine, and the first U-boat ever found in Canadian waters that was sunk in action. But even with this short dive, I would have to wait at least an hour and a half in decompression before surfacing and sharing the news.
I was anxious to know if they'd been successful. It was my young friend Warren who broke the news.
The hook was right in one of the tubes.
Yeah! Yeah! All right.
Even after 60 years, she still looks dangerous. She looks ominous. She looks like if you tapped on the hole a little bit, then wake up and you're ready to go to work.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Well, that was a good one.
I can't believe you can smile like a Cheshire cat with a regulator in your mouth.
Come on, you gotta have me a hug too.
Oh, gee, a father-son moment. Oh, yeah.
That was a first.
We'd taken a great leap forward. Half of the mystery had been solved. The Liberty ship Alexander McComb was still out there, and we were going to find it. But that would be another Sea Hunter's adventure.
Percy, do you know the way to Shelburne?
Sure do.
Make it so, Captain.
All right.
For now, our work on George's Bank was done. So Percy set the Ryan Atlantic on a course for home, Shelburne, Nova Scotia.
And when they reached shore, word of their accomplishment got out. There were international headlines and plenty of media attention, demonstrating the world is still fascinated by the U-boat and its role in our collective history. Within days, Mike received an email from a gentleman of German descent who had lost 2 uncles during the war. Both had died at sea, serving on U-boats, one of them on U-215. Now, thanks to the information shared by the commercial fishermen of the North Atlantic, a page in history can be written. The submarine has been found. U-215 and her crew are no longer on patrol.
As time passes, U-boat wrecks are becoming harder and harder to find, forcing searches into ever deeper and more challenging waters. The Sea Hunters now have no control over the future of U-215. We can only hope that the site is treated with the dignity and respect that it deserves. And now it's your turn to get up off that couch and go into the mountains go into the deserts, go under the lakes, the rivers, and the seas, and search for history. You'll never find a more rewarding adventure.
Join us again as we search the oceans of the world for lost and famous shipwrecks. Another true adventure with the Sea Hunters.